Wait for YouTube to wake up. Oh, there they are. Okay. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. All those that are here in person. We're going to do a recap on yesterday's Maimer, which is Vayigash. We spoke about some very fundamental concepts in Chassidus. Fundamental in the sense that Tanya talks about this, and in many places, and in general, this is really the avodah, the service, the process of what we're supposed to be doing in our work of davening, and in general, in developing emotions in our relationship to Hashem. There's a general way that you could just do things because you're supposed to or you have to, but there are not just physical mitzvahs, there are emotional mitzvahs. You have to love Hashem, you have to have an awe for Hashem, and so on. And these things are not easy. You don't just show up and do something. Not that that's so easy necessarily, but an emotion to develop that should be real takes a lot of effort. And this is what we're going to talk about now. The context is after there's a famine in Egypt for 7 years, and Yosef, through his vision and divine help, he's able to interpret the dreams. Not vision, but through the divine inspiration, he can interpret the dreams of Pharaoh, and he tells him that he's going to have, Egypt is going to have 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, and therefore, we all know the story, let's store the wheat during the years of plenty, we'll have it for the next years. Now, the problem is that most people didn't know how to store it, everything rotted. Only the palace of Pharaoh, under Yosef's control, has proper wheat, and he's selling it to the whole Egypt. And he's emptying out Egypt of all of its money. It's all ending up in the palace. Yosef didn't spend it all one day, he saved. And he saved it. There are 3 treasures, it says. One was revealed to Kairach, one was revealed to Antoninus, a Roman, and the third one is going to be revealed to the tzaddikim when Mashiach will come, which obviously is a strange thing. Kairach is one category of a person, let's just say, and Antoninus is a totally different one, and then tzaddikim, which are all about spirituality. What's going on there? So to understand this, we need to get into the concept of a hidden light. When Hashem created the world, there was a very bright light, powerful revelation of godliness, if you will, and that bright light allows you to see from one end of the world to the other. It was too intense, too much. So Hashem hid it after creation, and He concealed it, and it's going to be revealed to tzaddikim, not even now, but when Mashiach will come. In other words, certain people at a certain state of reality, that's when they're going to get it. They'll have access to it. Now, what's this idea of hiding light? What does it mean that Hashem hid the light? So to understand that, we need to focus on this concept of 2 types of levels in Avas Hashem. When you love Hashem, there are 2 ways. One is Ahava, a love that's a result of hisbeinus, contemplation. A person learns something, he thinks about it, he connects with it deeply, and various different forms of contemplation, but a person has to think about it. The great Mashpiyim and Lubavitch, the Hasidic mentors, used to say that try doing it. My Zayda al-Sham would talk about this a lot. Try to focus on a concept of Chassidus for 1 minute without interruption. Now, 1 minute seems like nothing, but if you try to do it without any interruption, it's not nothing. And when you master 1 minute, then try to do 2 and 3 and 4. But the concept is that when you hold your thought on something, I don't mean a mantra, that's maybe a good thing as well, but when you really, really think of an idea, it becomes part of you. And you think about it without stop. Your mind changes. But what happens is that when a person is delving deeply, as the Alter Rebbe says, into the concept about the greatness of Hashem, he gets excited with a thirst, and he has a love for Hashem. This is what the verse says: based on your intellect will be your rejoicing. Because your emotions follow your intellect. Therefore, some people that have the ability intellectually to focus deeply on a concept, to think about something, to understand it, that will affect their emotions differently. Not to undermine anybody or talk negative in any way, but sometimes the emotions of a person, let's use an example of a little child. A little child cries over taking away their toys, which is insignificant. It has no bearing on life, right? It's just a toy. But because their mind can't deal with it, they cry. Or they get very excited for a lollipop. What's a lollipop? It's actually a bad thing, according to some opinions. But he gets very excited. Why? Because his level of his capacity of intellectual abilities are very limited. So he gets excited in either way, happy or sad from it. But the idea is that your mind really impacts your emotions. The more you think about something deeply, it'll bring out this love, this ava that you have. Now, if you analyze this love, it's a love which is a result of your thoughts, and therefore it's something new. He calls it giving birth to a ahava, which is amazing on the one hand, because you didn't have it before, and you created it. I didn't have this love for Hashem, per se, and I thought about something, and I delved into it, and I got there. They use this, I'm sure, in your studies and practice of psychology and so on. You have this concept of
it's cognitive behavior therapy. It's all totally this control. Pull your mind away from the emotional problem that you're in, and
correct. Even in relationships, not even, especially in relationships, when a person is having a hard time, whether it's with a significant other, or it's an employee, or it's whatever it may be, they could think about the greatness, the benefits, the positivities, whatever the qualities that they have, and it gets them to shift a little bit. They may not be so frustrated when they realize the good side, but it's a focus, it's a decision. In Chassidus, think about Hashem and you develop a love. But the key here is develop. You're creating something new. So level number one is I create a new Ava for Hashem. The Yesh Bechinas Beis Be'ava. There's a second level in Ava, and that's called the Ava Misuteres, the hidden love. Hidden love is a Ava that every single Yid has by nature in your godly soul. You're born with it. It's in your DNA. And that feeling wants naturally, it doesn't take effort, it's who you are. You want to be included in Hashem because that's your source, the source of the neshama. That's where it comes from, and it wants to get there. The only problem is it's Bechinas Helen v'Hester Gadol. It's in a very great concealment and hiddenness, and the only way to bring it out, as it says in Tanya, is through contemplation. Think about it, reflect on it, and you'll bring it up.
I thought it was through a lollipop.
That might work. If all else fails, try not
Okay.
That's the greatness of a candy man.
Sure.
Yeah. The nimtza so comes out, when this ava, misuteres, that we have comes out in a revealed form, it's not something new at all. It's just revealing what was already there. You opened the door, you got it out. Now, you could analyze what's better. Create something new or reveal something that was already there. Now, there's a certain excitement when you create something new, right? But you can't compare, as he's going to say, man-made love, it sounds weird, but self-developed feelings to your root, deep, godly source of Avas Hashem. It's a totally different level. And he uses a pasuk, saying of our sages, Nichnas yayin yatsa sayit. When wine goes in, the secrets come out. Now, secrets means ahava misuteres, the hidden love. On a basic level, it means what it means. Alcohol loosens the tongue. But on a deeper level, soid, secret, represents this hidden love that we're talking about, because it's hidden from the person. It's very, very subconscious. And putting in wine, not alcohol, but wine means yena shel Torah, the hidden parts of Torah, the secrets of Torah, the mystical side of Torah. When a person goes a little bit deeper beyond just the surface and reflects on it and learns it and so on, if he's allowing it to go inside, then it'll bring out the secret, which is the hidden love. And the truth is that this level of this hidden love is well beyond, it's very, very great. He uses a term, Gedela v'Rabba. It's bigger and greater than the level of Ava, which comes from his Beinunus. For those that are watching online, first of all, welcome. We're on Torah Ohr Vayigash, this week's Parsha, discussing how to develop emotions, or the idea of developing emotions. Now, even though it's the first level,
divine emotions,
this works everywhere. You have to have a hook. Again, you're right. What we're talking about here is divine emotions. However, the way to develop emotions is through reflection. Ask Aryalev if you want to know how to bring out a love for exercise. Think about how good it is for you, or how bad it is if you don't. Even though it's something new, but it's not a complete renewal. Nonetheless, in other words, one of them is something new. The other one is not a renewal. You're just revealing something that was already there. You're uncovering it. Nonetheless, its source is from a much higher place. Now, the ava, which comes from his beinunus, this new type of ava, three lines from the top, the first level of love for Hashem, avas Hashem, is one that was born. It's not as great. The only thing is, it didn't go down so deep. In other words, it didn't fall such a low place that it's hidden. You could access it. A person could reach that feeling for Hashem relatively easy. It's not quick, but you could get there. You're not talking about the deep recesses of your soul, which are very hard to reveal. Okay, so we're going back and forth here. On the one hand, it's lower, but it's more accessible. And the second one is greater beyond, because its source is in the essence of Hashem, but it's very hard to reveal. And when you're dealing with it, you could also analyze and say one's brand new. Great. The other one's just a revelation of something which already existed. But that already existed comes from a very high place, and that's why it ends up really low, because the higher something is, the lower it goes. Sometimes when you see something that's really, or somebody who's behaving in a really bad way, you might want to think about where the source of their neshama comes from, or what's really going on, and something is just the way it works. Certain things that are very lofty end up very, very low. They have to be taken out, but that's there. And then he brings from Tanya, as the Tanya says, Ava Musateres, when it comes out in the revealed sense, in the parentheses, it's called Ava Rabba, the great love, which is higher than Avas Olam. It's two types of love, which is referred to, the eternal one and then the great one. The great one is considered to be greater because the first one only comes from his beinunus, and it's a produced love. Okay, remember we have a question. We have three treasures. What does the idea of three treasures? Now, so let's look at who Yosef is. He's the one that hid these treasures. He's the one that brought them about. Yosef, in his spiritual makeup, he's called Yosef a Tzaddik Elyon, a supernal Tzaddik, and he comes from Ava Rabba Misuteres. We said there's this root of the neshama, really somewhere deep in Hashem's essence, which brings out this love towards Hashem, this desire to be with Hashem. Yosef comes from that level, and every Yid has it in some manner, but Yosef, his, so to speak, place where he comes from is from that level, and it's a very, very spiritually lofty place. And that's the idea of Yosef, because he's Yesod, he's foundation. Foundation is on the very, very bottom, right? That means it comes from a very, very high place, or else it can't go to the very bottom. And it's in Kabbalah, it's called Yesod. Yesod is made up of Yud, Sod, meaning Hashem, and the secret. Secret again is Ava Misuteres, Nechasan Yesod. So that's what Yosef represents. He is the one that he's the source, or he comes from the source of this hidden love, and therefore he could hide things and reveal it. One of them on Mashiach will come. Now, why Korach got one of them, you could speculate, it doesn't say it here. And why Antoninus got one of them is even a bigger question. I have some ideas, I don't want to make anything up. This is what it means, the light which is planted, another way of saying hidden, for tzaddikim, which means it's the original light, the Kadma, which was hidden for tzaddikim. We say this pasuk.
I'm sorry, you just explained Korach and Antoninus?
No, I said we just explained Yosef and why it's hidden for tzaddikim to come, because it's a very high level. That's what Yosef is. The question that we still have is how did they get it? What's the connection there? Now, you could say that Korach wanted, when the Rebbe learns Korach's story, he wanted to be a Kohen Gadol. And the Rebbe spins it. Obviously, the pshat is the pshat. Okay, he rebelled against Moshe. But
Motivation was good.
potentially. In other words, there's something there that he wanted to be a Kohen Gadol. It was a spiritual yearning. Messed up. But now maybe that told us something. His root is from somewhere. And most guys are not actively trying to be the Kohen Gadol. Okay, there you go. So perhaps that has to do with it.
Most folks for CEO.
As opposed to,
Go and go.
there you go. V'zeh pirush Ozer al Tzaddik, shu Er Kadma, because Er Kadma, it's this original light which was Shaganze la Tzaddikim, which he hid for Tzaddikim. The Er Kadma, and this original light, B'chinas Ava Rabba, and now it's the great Ava, she the Maila B'chinas Ava Selam, which is much greater than Ava Selam, and they're both called Er. But when you talk about the original light, that has to be hidden, because it comes from a very, very deep place. It can only be accessed by certain people, or it's given to certain people, Tzaddikim, in a time when Mashiach comes, when the world is ready to perceive that. Now, let's do this parenthesis. It's a little bit hard, but if we go word for word, we'll get to it. Ki er b'chinas chesed. Light is kindness. It's the ability to give, to illuminate, to provide clarity. Light is kindness. Now, in kindness, you have chesed olam, which is a lower level. It's the ava which comes from seichel. That's what light is. Light is kindness. Light is illumination, and it comes from. And there's a level of chesed, which is the ava which comes from seichel. But then you have a er kadma, this original light which has to be hidden. That represents the ava rabba, which is higher than seichel. What happened to that ava rabba? It was hidden. It's ava misuteres. So it works both ways. You have this parallel, the the ava, the chesed. There's a level which is really, really high. It gets hidden, both in the sense of light for tzaddikim to come, Mashiach will come, and for the yid, it's in our recesses of our neshama and it has to be revealed. You have a lower level, which that's the light that we benefit from. That's the chesed of Hashem. Every person has it.
He's just saying the same thing over again then?
He's showing the parallel of how you have it in chesed. Like chesed is the first of the midas. So you have two types of chesed, there's two types of ava, as we explained. Now, we're bouncing that back and saying that the light that was created was hidden, right? So you have a similar thing. A person has, basically it's a parallel. Ava chesed, or chesed ava. El shegonze la tzadikim v'chinas Yosef, tzadik elyon. He hid it for tzadikim on the level of Yosef, who is the supernal tzadik. And each one of these it was hidden. Each one of the yidden b'chinas ava hanal. But it's hidden in a way of hidden, secret, and concealed. We didn't finish the mimer. Next one. Not at all. Okay. Tomorrow I'll be able to continue.
Okay.
But
That was a good chazar. Keep going together.
So 1 second, we are going to explain. Okay, very good. Perfect. Thanks for joining, guys. If you have any questions, heard on comments or messages, try to answer them. Or I'll ask everyone here to answer them. And like, share, subscribe. We're going to go daven. See you soon.
Got the class short, 4 minutes.